What's going on, YouTube family? Welcome to Automotive Life. My name is Lucky, and today we're going to be giving you an update on the used car market. Now, there are some things that are going to be happening that's going to help bring prices down, but there's also some things that we're going to talk about that could possibly bring prices back up. We're going to address both of those in the video today. Now, before I get into the video, if you could do me a huge favor and gently squeeze the like button for YouTube algorithm, I would truly appreciate it. It means a lot to me. It's basically a way of saying thank you, and if you enjoy the content. Also, if you consider subscribing, go for it. And once again, follow us on Instagram at Lucky Lopez. Let's get into the video. The last market update we did was right before tax season, and we were talking possibly prices going up a few percentage points because of the demand for tax season. Now, traditionally, tax season is a great time for used car and new car dealers. This is when we go out and buy more inventory typically because people have larger down payments. So what happened? A lot of dealers fed back into that FOMO, fear of missing out, like people were going to have all this money. So instead of basically hunkering down and thinning out all their overpriced inventory, dealers started buying just like they were during the pandemic. So what happened? Dealers bought a lot more cars, paid way too much for them, and it raised MMR and wholesale values, which winded up going against the consumers. Fast forward to today, and as you guys know, tax season was not what we thought it was going to be. It was literally a blimp on the screen. I've heard numerous dealers say that they couldn't get people financed because they didn't have big enough down payments. Because remember, as all these repos start piling in, financing companies are getting more restrictive when it comes to lending. They want bigger down payments, shorter term, and they don't finance the exact same amount of cars that they did before. So all this basically spells that cars were left over from tax season. Now, I know that we had that temporary spike increase from tax season, but you have to remember, since the end of 2021 and all through 2022, prices have been gradually dropping 2 to 3% per week. You know, everybody keeps asking for a crash. It's not going to crash. It's going to be a slow correction. Now that we're through the second week of April, we started looking at some of the numbers we've seen so far. In the last 2 weeks, prices have been trending down 2.8%. So that's a good sign. We're seeing wholesale values at the auction starting to go back down. It's going to be delayed for consumers because it usually takes about 60 to 90 days for that to trickle down to the consumer side. But these are all evidence that we're seeing that prices are going down. Now, there's going to be a few things that could possibly speed this up, but also there's going to be some things that can keep prices high. We're going to go over both of those right now. Now, I was talking about how lending was getting very restricted in my last video. People simply cannot afford the really high payments. Banks are going at higher interest rates. They're doing whatever they can to offset their risk of bad auto loans. You know, I've heard from numerous dealers that, you know, they can't get the extra what's called back-end money for warranty, stuff like that. So they're financing lower amounts, which means lower profits, and they can't give customers breaks on some cars. Now, one of the things that I believe that's going to drive prices down is the fact that dealers are sitting on very aged inventory. And especially now that it's came out at public notice that a lot of floor plans are starting to think about pulling back on their lending. We've talked about this for the last year, that they're going to be the deciding factor when it comes to putting pressure on dealers to lower their prices. Because every dealer has a flooring line, which is a line of credit. This is what they use to purchase cars. Believe it or not, most dealers do not have money, which is hilarious, but they don't have cash or capital to purchase their vehicles. So the flooring lines are not like a credit card or like a traditional bank where you can be late a little bit and have some time. Flooring lines are like the mob. If you are late 1 hour, 1 day, they will literally charge your account and then show up the next day, where's the keys for the cars, and pick them up. I'm not even joking. During the fallout of 2008, I watched dealers go out of business overnight because they wouldn't, because floor plans were so afraid of losing so much value in cars. Instead of working deals out with their dealerships, they just went and took all the cars because they didn't want to lose that much money. And I think that we're heading on that trajectory as of now. It came out that Capital One is no longer lending to automotive lenders when it comes to flooring lines. I've heard Next Gear Capital, as well as AFC and a few other ones, are talking about reevaluating their lines. What this means is if you have $1 million in cars, they're going to run a book value on those cars to see currently where they're at. Now, if the cars are worth close to $1 million, you are okay. But as we're starting to see prices go back down, which we were worried about 3 months ago, dealers were holding on to this overpriced inventory, and they're like, oh my God, the flooring line's going to call on me. And that's what they're doing now. If they rebook these $1 million worth of cars, and let's say that's only worth, I don't know, 800,000. They can go to the dealership and knock on their door and say, hey, your $1 million line of flooring, it's only worth $800K. We need a check for $200,000 to make sure that we're in the clear, that we're not upside down in our lending. Now, this could have major ramifications for dealerships. Now, is it the dealer's fault that they overpaid for cars? Absolutely yes. But also, when it comes to the flooring lines will only pay you wholesale prices for if you buy a car outside the auction. But if you buy them inside the auction, Manheim, Odessa, they will finance 100% of whatever it is. So if you were dumb enough to overpay, let's say $10,000 on a Toyota pickup truck, they will finance $10,000 over its value. So you can kind of see where this is going. All these dealers paid way too much cars. They didn't really have to put much money down. And the thing is, when you're using your own money, you're more discerning on prices. You're more discerning on condition reports and how much the car is worth and how long it's going to stay on your lot. But when you're using somebody else's money, like these flooring lines, it tends to give dealers this false sense of security, like I have money, I'm good to go. But now all that is going to come crashing down. So that's the first thing. If they start tightening up, I believe the prices are going to come down much, much quicker if they feel the pressure. Also, there's a few things that are not helping the car market go down as far as pricing. And believe it or not, it has nothing to do with dealers. It's actually consumers. I've gotten tons of messages in my Instagram DMs of people trying to figure out how to get out of their overpriced cars that they purchased in 2020, 2021, and the beginning of 2022. What I mean by this is I've seen people literally buried in brand new Dodge Chargers. Chargers is the number one. I don't know what the hell people are thinking, paying $50,000, $60,000 for a base Charger. Trucks, high mileage stuff. Like, I'll put it this way. I've seen people owe $60,000 on a $30,000 car. So they are $30,000 upside down in negative equity. There's nothing they can do to get out of that car. Now, traditionally, Americans will buy a new car every 3 to 4 years. And every time we hit one of these crises where they overlend on cars, just like in 2008, it starts to exacerbate that. Now it goes out to maybe 5 years, 6 years. People can't keep trading in their cars, and this is what the used car market needs to keep the inventory flowing. The people that bought in 2020 should be trading in their cars or getting new ones now, but they can't because they paid so much money for them back then. So now you have people that are buried in these cars that they can't get rid of them, they can't trade them in, and they can't refinance them. And then there's a few people flat out that told me that they do not want to buy a new car because they bought, a 2020 Camry at 1.9%, and now they go into the dealership and it's 8.5%. And for the exact same car. So why are they going to pay double when they'll just keep their car that's 2 years old and now that car doesn't make it to the used car market? So all these things are slowing down the flow of more volume of used cars hitting the market. New car prices are actually going down, but some markets, used car prices are trending upwards or staying where they're at. And this is the main reason why. Every month, more new cars come out, but the cost is so high, the affordability is basically not there. People have no choice but to buy used cars. But as people are buried into their cars, or they can't get rid of them, they can't refinance them, or if they try to get a newer car, they can't afford the newer payments because the interest is so high. All these things spell doom and gloom when it comes to the used car market. So now people are worrying, well, are prices going to go up or are they going to go down? It's going to be extremely hard. I believe they're going to start trending down at a slow rate, 2 to 3% a week or week and a half in wholesale prices for the next several months. I think as new cars start to come out, we've already seen dealers selling under MSRP. Incentives are coming back for a lot of the Chrysler, Dodge, and Jeep programs. So I think that as new cars start to come down and they become more affordable, people are not going to buy a 2-year-old car for the same price as a new one. So they're going to start going back to the new cars. But these interest rates are really killing us, and it's hurting the price of used cars because it's keeping it up. Because I've seen a lot of people get smart over the last few months. They decided to walk away or just not buy anything expensive and buy a cheap car. Even myself, people don't believe me. I sold my $200,000 Audi R8, and I am driving, no joke, a smart car that I bought at auction for $1,100, which I'm going to bring to the channel here in a little bit. So people are starting to convert. They don't want to pay these high prices. They want to pay these overpriced, inflated insurance premiums as well as interest on loans. So the market is in a really weird state right now. Anything can kind of turn us. I believe that it is going to keep trending downwards. And unfortunately, it's going to be a while before we get back to 2019 prices. I know all you guys are praying for the collapse, but like I said, it's going to be a slow, steady correction. But as the government raises interest rates, it's going to make affordability of some of these loans even higher. So even if the cars do come down, 2-3% every month, if the interest rates keep getting higher, I know you guys are not going to see that reflected in the payments. So it's very disheartening to see people upset that they can't get the cars they want. But I'd love to hear in the comment section below how you feel about this situation. What are you currently seeing in your market? Do you believe that with the dealers having so much pressure on them, not being able to get rid of their cars from tax season, are they going to lower prices? Do you have a friend or a neighbor that's buried in their car that can't get rid of it, that can't refinance it, that's stuck in it? Let me know in the comment section below, because all this stuff helps information spread. And the whole purpose of this channel is to be transparent about the automotive industry. And even if your opinion is different from mine, that's okay. We could still be friends. But I value your guys' opinions, and I'd love to hear them in the comment section below. But I want to thank you guys so much for watching. Once again, follow us on Instagram @LuckyLopez. Please like and subscribe if you enjoy the content, and we'll see you next video.